Hello, everyone. Welcome to Divine Debut. This is Kathy speaking. Thank you so much for being here. I thought I would touch base with you all through this audio as we're going through these incredible energies these days that have been unforeseen. Like who would have thought that something like this would be happening in the world, and not on a large scale as it is. It's as though we're living in a dream and a nightmare that we're not waking up from. And it's really weird that this began in the time of, the Mercury retrograde in the sign of Pisces. We know Pisces is about things that are hidden, things that we could not see. Mercury retrograded in the sign of Pisces and tried to bring in clarity where there was a lot of confusion, and poor little Mercury was drowning in the sign of Pisces. As we know that Mercury rules logic, but there is no logic in the past time that, in this time that we're passing through. The past 3 weeks roughly has been all about trying to see through that very cloudy veil. Now, also we know that Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is the god of the seas, Poseidon, right? And that's where the confusion starts, where there is a lot of water. It's all blurred. We know that the planet of Neptune is all gas, and therefore there's no way of being able to communicate and bring clarity. That's why people with strong Pisces in their chart, or if, the ruling planet of Pisces, Neptune, is on an important, in an important area of our birth chart, it brings a lot of illusion. Okay, for instance, let's say Neptune, you've been born with Neptune on your ascendant. That's all about confusion. Now we know that Neptune doesn't only speak of confusion, it can speak of unconditional love, and it's very magical, it's the divine. There are two polar opposites to Pisces and Neptune, where it's something to do with the divine, something very exquisite, magical. Its source in itself, Pisces, is the divine. But then the other side to it is all about confusion and escapism. And again, Pisces is anything to do with TV, anything that is not real. Okay, the illusion, the deception, that's what it's all about. So last night, I felt an eerie silence, even through social media. People were very quiet. With, not being able to move around freely with this lockdown, social media has obviously picked up. People are communicating through all those social media platforms. But last night there was so much quiet, and I feel as though those of you that are watching the news, on a daily basis, all day, you have that TV open and you're listening to all those frightening stories. Some are stories, yes. I'm not saying that this coronavirus, COVID-19, I'm not saying that it's fake, but there is a lot of fake news out there. Now, Mercury yesterday, a few hours ago, nevertheless, joined up with Neptune. And Neptune is that deception. So now Mercury has moved over. Mercury is out of its shadow. It is moving direct. We know that Mercury is all about communication. It's all about the logic. It's all about business, collaboration. Now, Mercury can be a malefic, but it can also be a benefic. So depending on which planet or which energy it's conversing with, it will take on the form of that. So since Mercury is together with Neptune in the sign of Pisces, I know that there is massive confusion, but also, you know, Mercury can't see in that dark Piscean energy. It cannot see clearly. It is starting to make sense. But I think we've all been taken up in those deep seas of Poseidon, of Neptune, and we're practically drowning in it. So what I want to say is that with Mercury moving out and moving into the sign of Aries in about 6-7 days, we know that we shall have more clarity. And what's even more amazing is that Mercury will be coming closer to Chiron, which is in the sign of Aries. Now, Chiron was the wounded healer in mythology. Chiron in the chart, in our natal chart, speaks of open wounds, but it can also speak of healing. Chiron was that centaur in mythology who was wounded by his own people, and therefore his wounds were not easy to overcome, as those wounds came from family, that open wound. Now that could speak of psychological wounds, self-worth wounds, but also physical wounds, as Chiron could be an illness. It can be a psychological illness. It can be just an open wound that putting a band-aid on will not heal. Therefore, through Chiron, we receive our lessons. We go through our own healing. It's a process. And therefore, through those experiences, we are mature enough to be able to heal others through our own experience. So Mercury coming towards Chiron will actually give us an indication and the clarity. And I would say even through communication, the healing will come. And also because Aries is driven, Aries is the warrior, Aries is also a sign of taking the action. It's going to do something about it. It's not going to be quiet. It's not going to sit there and wait for the healing. Moreover, it's going to take the action to start that healing process. And of course, Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is all about moving forward. It's that scalpel. It's anything sharp that we need to use to clean up that wound, to heal the wound, to stitch up that wound. I do feel that a lot of the healing will come through communication. And I felt that eerie silence yesterday, that people were so much incorporated. They were so sucked up in their fear. They were so taken aback by the fear that is being served to us at this time. And people are starting to feel it psychologically, mentally. So this is a message to all of you to not stay silent. Rather, take the initiative, become that Aries person, that person who will take action. They will reach out and help those that are in need now, in need of a good word, in need of a conversation, in need of love and nurturing. That's what it's all about. And we can only do that through communication, which is Mercury. Now, just looking at the chart, we still have Jupiter, Pluto conjunct. They're actually going to be precisely conjuncting in about 16 hours. So by the time you receive this message, in about 10 hours at the most, they will be exact. They're still transiting through the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn is the law, it's the military, it's government agencies, it's corporations, It's anything to do with kingship. And when I say kingship, I mean the people that are in charge. That's why when I have the Emperor in a reading, the Emperor I call as very Saturnian, as the Emperor is the one that is in charge, that person that doesn't show emotion. We know that the sign of Capricorn can be that tough cookie. Capricorn can also have so many priorities or obligations, Saturnian energies, so many obligations and things that they have to accomplish. That's why Capricorn is shown as that mountain goat with those strong knees. And we have that mountain goat climbing the mountain. And therefore, as an archetype, Capricorn people know that they have it in their DNA, that they have to be tough, they've got to be strong, they're the Saturnian leaders. And this doesn't make them cold, they're of earth, they're very grounded, they're grounded in their reality. But they're born with the ruling planet of Saturn, which makes them resilient. Don't get me wrong, one of my subscribers, viewers, wrote a comment recently about me being a little bit harsh with the Saturnian energy, and that she was a Capricorn, and she said, how come people always, brand us with the devil energy? And I explained to her that for me, all the signs, all the zodiac signs are the same. I do not prefer one to the other. All the signs, all the zodiac signs have got their light side and their shadow side. It's just the way it is. There needs to be balance. Now, I do believe that the light is stronger than the dark, and therefore the light also always wins. So having Jupiter, Pluto conjuncting now, which is history in the making, obviously. Pluto is the planet which rules Scorpio. Scorpio is all about death and transformation. Pluto, which in Greek means wealth, can be very transformative. It's life-changing. And we know that Pluto could also speak of the masses, a large scale, a very, very large scale. As small as the planet Pluto is, its energy is way opposite to what its size is. So it's massive. It is the furthest out in our solar system, and therefore the further out the planet, the stronger its pull. Pluto can be very destructive, but it can also be very empowering. Now, having Jupiter on Pluto, Jupiter expands. Jupiter is the ruling planet, I should say, of Sagittarian people. Sagittarian people that love their freedom. They're all about optimism, expansion, truth, growth. All about their beliefs. Their beliefs are very strong, Sagittarian people, as Jupiter expands the knowledge. It's all about higher education. It's all about believing in the truth, in your own truth, as we know that Jupiter is also very spiritual. So this awakening, I'm going to call it, with Jupiter and Pluto conjuncting at this time, this awakening, it can be a rude awakening that for a lot of us that are not spiritually open, and we're more into the 3D plane and the mundane. There are people that don't believe in what they don't see. And this is not to obviously deny them of being intelligent. It's just that their awakening the process of their awakening hasn't begun yet. So there are two sides, two different types of people. Those that are ready and open to the cosmic energies and those who are not. So I believe that with Pluto and Jupiter conjuncting at this time, this is a spiritual awakening in a Plutonian way. So Plutonian way means, of course, the masses, but also through the deaths that are going on now, all those souls that are leaving this 3D plane, this earth. This is a very strong, but this is the dark side of the awakening for many people. And I do feel that this is what is helping to awaken, that through difficulty, through mass destruction, those people who haven't been awakened, they are now awakening, that there is something else going on. And when I say something else going on, I'm not talking about a conspiracy. I'm talking about the cosmic energies. So as above, so below, we say with a magician, don't we? So I do believe that the reflection of the sky is showing in our lives now. There are massive changes coming in. Jupiter expands, remember, it is spiritual as well. So spiritually and cosmically, we are expanding. We're moving on to another level. We're rising. This is an ascension process. Now, because recently Saturn was amongst Pluto and Jupiter. Saturn is Kronos, right? He is in mythology, he was the father that would eat his children, and therefore his energy can be dark. The light side to Saturn is that he crystallizes, he materializes, and he rewards once the integrity and the work and the growth, the maturation has taken place. So let's not look at Saturn as only that man-eating, horrific God, but let's see him as a growth process. And we know that, as I said before, there cannot only be light, there is always going to be darkness as well. But the light overrules the dark. That is the physical energy of the yin and the yang. There has to be a balance. Now at this time, yes, there is more darkness. I agree with you. This is like going through that tunnel, through that birth canal, where the light will show up. It's at the end of the tunnel. I believe that we're going to get a glimpse of that as soon as Mercury moves into Aries. I truly believe that. We will have a glimpse of that. Now, looking again at Pluto and Jupiter astrologically, this is their first meeting, their first conjunction. That's why all the astrologers are saying that 2020 is not going to be an easy year. We are going to have the second meeting of Jupiter and Pluto in the month of July and in the month of November. The month of November meeting will be the third and last conjunction of these two massive energies, as Jupiter is the biggest planet, Pluto is the smallest but the strongest planet. So both have got their own, it's like a war between the gods, what's going to win. Okay, and we've got also now, we have Mars that's moved into the sign of Aquarius. Saturn has also moved into Aquarius. Saturn does rule Aquarius as it is the ancient ruler. The modern ruler of Aquarius is the sign of Uranus, and Uranus is transiting through the sign of Taurus. So it is changing. Uranus is all about change. It's the tower for me in the tarot. Fundamental change, sudden changes, changes through electricity surge. We know that Uranus is our electric, it's the electricity in the world. It's the zap that we get when we turn on a switch with a wet hand. That's what Uranus is. Now, it is our nervous system as well. So it can speak of a lot of tension. Now, there is, we're going to have a square. Mars is going to be squaring Uranus in about 3 days. So that can be quite dangerous, as Mars is energy, Mars is fire, Uranus is electricity. Both coming together in a difficult square could also mean earthquakes, anything to do with sudden and abrupt tower moments. Mars can be aggression. Uranus can be someone wanting to break free. Do take care. A lot can happen with Mars Uranus squaring, so try and take things one step at a time. Don't get aggravated. If someone is pushing your buttons, go into another room. As we know, we're all stuck in this together, and we know that too much closeness and the lack of freedom can be quite aggravating for all of us. So if someone is trying to press your buttons, I don't know, pour them a glass of scotch or something. What can I say? We have to be as calm as possible at this time and know that these energies will pass, these difficulties will pass. For some of us, of course, that are going through more difficult situations, if we have a loved one that's not well, let's just pray for all those people, and let's just give thanks to all the people that are fighting for the survival of so many people. So let's give them a big thanks and send them our wishes. Okay, what else did I want to talk about? Last time we had Pluto and Jupiter conjunct. We had that happen in 2007. So what was going on for you back then? We know that Jupiter and Pluto were in the sign of Sagittarius back then. That was quite a while ago. That was before the economic crash, and I do believe that, yes, our finances at this time are going, obviously, they're going downhill right now for many of us, and it is going to be that domino effect that we're going to have to work through. But what is most important right now is togetherness, support, okay, to those who are in more need than others. Let's give our support, send out our love to everyone, and know that it is a difficult time, but it's also a birthing process that we're going through. And we need to remember that always, that when we get to the other side of this, it's going to be very different. Yes, it will be as though we've entered a brand new world, but let's just keep going while we're still on lockdown, everyone, and let's just keep the faith, all right? Looking at the astrology again, Venus trining over to Saturn. Saturn again in the sign of Aquarius. Venus has just entered Gemini. Venus is right on the Pleiades right now. That's the constellation of the Pleiades stars. For those of you that are interested in what the Pleiades were, just Google it. You can find a lot of information there. Venus is at 0 degrees and 39 minutes of Gemini, and Venus will be retrograding. Once it gets to 5 degrees, it's going to be start it's going to start moving into its pre-shadow. So that will be the degrees, from 5 degrees, that it will start to be working, calibrating on something to do with Gemini. For those of you that are familiar with your astrology, which house is Gemini for you? That's where Venus will be doing work on. So we know that Gemini is all about, as I said, it's collaboration with others, it's communication, it's business. It's also siblings, neighbors, and people that are in your periphery. So Venus is all about values. It's all about our projects, money. So Venus will be retrograding in the sign of Gemini for a while. She will probably be coming out of her shadow shadow period, end of June. So she will be in the sign of Gemini until then. For those of you that are Gemini, we know that Venus retrograding does bring back situations and people from the past. So Venus will be doing its work. I do believe that it's a very good time to communicate with and around past situations. Okay, for each and every person, it's going to be on a different level, of course. But yeah, Venus is trining Saturn, and that's a beautiful aspect, as we know that Saturn materializes. It brings in the reality, the practicality. Okay, so whatever we've been working on, this could be a payout of some sort. Doesn't necessarily have to be money, as we know Venus could be anything to do with love as well. So this could be an opening to that locked door, that Saturnian. If you've been dealing with someone that was not showing any emotion, this could be someone that's got a lot on their plate, or they just could be their DNA, they're just very Saturnian. This could be a shimmer of light, a positive message, a positive connotation in relation to that. Also, Venus soon is going to start trining over to Mars in Aquarius. We know that Venus and Mars were the lovers of the zodiac, and that will be happening for a while. And that's positive, obviously. Now, Mars transiting through the sign of Aquarius. We know Aquarius is air, Mars is fire. That can be fairly explosive, but that could also be saying that for those of you that are pushing someone's buttons too much, or trying to, steer them in a certain direction, know that the Aquarian energy is very rebellious. It's also very free loving. It does not like to be pushed too hard. There could be an explosion. There can be passive aggressiveness here as well. Now, Aquarius is a fixed sign, and Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. Therefore, it is a cardinal sign. So cardinal and fixed together, not easy. Okay, now we have the Sun still moving through Aries. It's halfway there. And happy birthday to those of you that are celebrating your birthday. My niece's birthday was yesterday. My daughter's birthday is coming up very soon. Poor souls, they can't really celebrate very much. Just a message to those of you that are not able to celebrate your birthday at this time. You can always do it at a later date. Okay, and there have been all these funny videos, that I've seen, where what's the first thing we're going to do on the day that we're free to move, and there is so many funny videos out there. I would suggest that you watch those instead of watching too much of the news, as it's too raw. And especially, children that are younger, they need to be aware of what's going on, but we need to also protect them at this time, okay, because they're very innocent, and this could be too much for them too soon. So please take care with your children. Let them know that everything will be fine, as everything will be fine. Even we know that as adults. Okay, and I'd just like to add also that the moon is transiting now through Leo. Leo is that child that wants to go out and play. But whatever is going on in the sky is in a weird aspect to all these difficulties in Capricorn. So we're not able to bring the children out to play. Therefore, they're going to have to play at home. And I'd like to say that we are all children within. I don't think that we ever really grow up. We just have to mature. It's the, you know, the face, the mask that we put on for the world. Deep down, we're all children at heart. And of course, emotionally, this is really challenging all of us. Keep in mind that it's a growth process and it will soon be over. Okay, this nightmare will soon be over. Now, the North and South nodes, and one lady was asking me, what is it with the North and South node? What's that all about? These are the points of karma. We know that the North node being in the sign of Cancer, which is home, security, family, the mother, could be the parents as well, or just family on a whole. Our security, our foundation is at, you know, it's the nodes move backwards in the sky, and Cancer is where the North node has been. We know that the nodes move every 18 months, they change their axis. So the South node, which is right across the North node at the same degrees, 2 degrees and 37 minutes, is in Capricorn. So the nodes are moving backwards. That's their normal, the normal way that they move is backwards. They're going to be moving roughly mid-year in the signs of Gemini, and Gemini will have the North node. The South node will be in the sign of Sagittarius. So anything to do with what is Gemini? I did say what Gemini was before. I don't want to be repeating myself, but Gemini is all about business. It's the student. Sagittarius is the teacher, is spirit. It's not so much about business, but about becoming more spiritual. Okay, and I would say that both the North and South nodes on that axis will be about coming together, the teacher and the student, and educating ourselves about what is the truth. What is the truth in this lifetime? Okay, this is going to be a very interesting time. Now, I'm going to say why, because the nodes are at the last degrees, okay, of Cancer and Capricorn. Capricorn, where the South node is, being business, it's the authoritarian, it's the law. And that's why, you know, looking at our home or our business, looking at our family, or looking at our reality, or that ladder that we want to climb and we want to become the boss. Do we want to become the Saturnian people and be giving orders to others, or do we need more nurturing and loving from family, more stability from feeling secure in our homes? That's the question that we have been asked. They're the energies we're working through in this past roughly year and a half. For those of you that have got strong energies, you know, points in your chart, planets in Cancer or Capricorn, you have been through the mill. You have gone through many fundamental changes in your life. This has been a major growth spurt for those of you especially. And we know also that Cancer and Capricorn are cardinal signs, and therefore all the cardinal signs, including Aries and Libra, have been affected very strongly by the North and South nodes in the position they've been transiting recently. Now, in Vedic astrology, this is Rahu and Ketu. So they do have a different name. For those of you that follow Vedic astrology, I'm sure that a lot of you are very familiar with Ketu and Rahu, which is the dragon. Okay, the head of the dragon and the tail of the dragon. We know that also the tail of the dragon, which is the South node, that's where the excretion, that's where we are dumping, let's say, the trash. And that's why the South node in the sign of Capricorn has copped most of the difficulty. these times. But this again is very Saturnian, so they do say it's very positive. As for those of you that are Capricorn, know that the rewards will come through. And I do believe that once the nodes change axis, you will have your eyes set on the prizes. Also, those of you that are that have got strong Cancer in your charts, you've also gone through many, many changes. Personally, on a personal scale, I've witnessed that through people who have got their sun in Cancer. It's just incredible the changes that they've gone through, and the birthing process and how difficult that can be. Now, we all have Cancer and Capricorn in our charts in some area of our life. So we are experiencing the changes on a different area of life. This is on a collective scale. We're all going through those changes. Okay, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for listening, for being here at this time. And I want to send out my love and my support to all of you at this time. And I want you to have a positive outlook on everything. Know that this is the peak. This is the peak of this Plutonian circumstances, these Plutonian circumstances that we're going through. We're going to have a couple more peaks during the year, but this is the first initial shock. And we know that always the first initial shock is the biggest. Then the second one, which will come roughly in July, I don't feel it will have the intensity of this one. And when I say shock, I mean with Jupiter and Pluto coming together, even though, yes, even with Saturn and Pluto coming together recently, that wasn't easy. But for me, the expansion of Jupiter on Pluto is bigger. So therefore, I believe the second time that these two planets meet in July will not be as huge, and November will be massive, but it will be the ending of this. We know that 2020 is going to be a huge year of radical changes, transformation, rebirth. It's as though we're going through judgment. The judgment card in the tarot is that once you think that the end is here, Archangel Michael will toot that horn, and that tooting of that horn and that message will be that we will all awaken. This will be a resurrection. And I believe that the resurrection will happen towards the end of the year. Okay? And I do believe that 2021 is going to be a brand new day. So again, I want to thank you all. Much love, much healing. I'd love to hear your comments, your personal stories. You can reach out to me. The links are in the description box below. Write to me your story. I've got time to answer you. Write under the video. If you need support, people have got the time. They can get back to you. You can share your own personal stories. Okay? And that way, the support from others, and the help for all of us to ascend together is going to be the love that it's time for us to share. Even if it's a virtual love, it's love, okay? LOVE, everyone. That's what's going to bring us to 2021. All right. I think I will leave you at that. Much love. Talk to you soon.